British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has survived a no-confidence vote against him. 211 MPs voted for Johnson, 148 against him. That vote triggered by a report that found that Johnson broke the law by attending a series of parties during the COVID-19 lockdown. The Prime Minister is now immune from a Conservative leadership challenge for 12 months. But let's get you some analysis on this. Joining us this morning is lecturer in politics at Nottingham, Trent University. That's Professor Thomas Caygill. Thomas, it's great to speak to you this morning. He's called it a decisive win, but 41% vote against him. That's not nothing.
Good morning, and no, it's not. And I think the Prime Minister should be concerned by the outcome. And it does seem from the reaction last night from some of his supporters that actually this is much worse than they were actually anticipating earlier in the day yesterday. And actually, you know, the initial briefings from the Prime Minister's supporters were that a good place to be would be under 100 rebels. Of course, we now see there are 148 of them. And the briefings then moved on to say, oh, well, you know, as long as he does better than Theresa May did in her confidence vote in 2019, then, you know, we're still in a good position. Of course, the result there is actually worse than Theresa May's position in 2019. And of course, she was gone within 6 months of that confidence vote as well. So, yeah, no, it's not a good position for the Prime Minister to be in. I think backbench MPs now smell blood in the water. And there's likely to be at least a covert leadership campaign going on behind the scenes over the course of the next few weeks and months in particular. And you mentioned there that the kind of Conservative Party's parliamentary rule book states that, you know, the Prime Minister is now immune from a leadership challenge for another 12 months. I should say that is in theory. There is the opportunity there actually for the rules to be changed. It's alleged that Theresa May was threatened with a rule change back in 2019, which is ultimately what led her to resign 6 months after her leadership vote.
All right.
As well. The suggestion has been that actually if Conservative MPs, you know, even more Conservative MPs begin to have less confidence in the Prime Minister, actually another vote could be triggered within 12 months. Yeah,
so that is not set in stone. Am I understanding you correctly? That Conservative rule that he's now immune from any issues, any challenges for the next 12 months, it may well be in the offing that it changes.
Yes, and the question was put to Graham Brady, who is the chair of the 1922 committee, the official name for the Conservative Parliamentary Party, and yes, the rules can be changed relatively straightforwardly.
So does this also, Thomas, speak to the extent of disunity in the Tory party? I mean, or among the Tories? This is the latest, isn't it, in sort of resignations in the past that we've seen among the Tories as well, supporters previously of Boris Johnson.
Yes, so yeah, this is a huge level of disunity in the party. And I think what's quite remarkable about this particular vote is that it's not one faction of the party ganging up on another. It's both One Nation Conservatives versus Thatcherite Conservatives. It's MPs from different intakes of past general elections as well. So it's not one group of people. And as you mentioned, you know, we have seen a number of previously supportive MPs of Boris Johnson, the likes of Steve Baker, the likes of Jesse Norman, who supported Boris Johnson in his leadership campaign initially, and who served in his government initially bring out quite a scathing letter against him yesterday. Yeah,
in fact, Norman, just in response to what we now know as Partygate and Boris Johnson's rebuttals, his refusal to resign over Partygate for one, Norman saying that the Prime Minister's rebuttals over Partygate were, quote, grotesque, in fact warning that the Tories risk losing the next general election in 2024 as a result.
Yes, and he also goes on to talk in that letter about a lack of decency and a lack of integrity as well. I think this is what stands out, say, in comparison to Theresa May's confidence vote in 2019. This isn't necessarily about a policy. This is about the Prime Minister's decency and integrity. So it's about Boris Johnson as a person, as a leader, rather than a particular policy, as we perhaps saw with John Major and with Theresa May in past leadership challenges as well.
So Johnson now says, or he admits that he's now on a road to rebuilding trust. How does he go about doing that?
A very good question, and I think, you know, we've seen a number of revamps in Downing Street over the course of the past 2 years, none of which have really kind addressed the concerns of MPs wholeheartedly, hence why we are where we are today. I think, if I was to advise him what to do going forward, I think perhaps a cabinet reshuffle is necessary, but to bring in essentially MPs from all sides of the party and from different intakes as well, to try and ensure that it's a government of the entire Conservative Party rather than just what is perceived to be currently a government of kind of Conservative yes men who will back Boris Johnson to the hilt. But again, overall, I think it's going to be very difficult for the Prime Minister to come back from this, and I think actually going forward, governing is going to get a lot harder for him as well. With 148 of your own MPs who no longer have confidence with you, it's going to be very hard to get them through division lobbies, voting for complex and controversial policy and legislation going forwards as well. Yeah,
wide-ranging impact on the Tories at large as well. Politics in Nottingham, Trent University lecturer, Professor Thomas Caygill, thanks for your time this morning. Analysis there following that motion of no confidence in British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, which he won by about 41%.